What is up, guys? Welcome back to another Fantasy Premier League live stream / video. This time, obviously, we're talking about Game Week 25. So I feel like I will start off this stream by talking about Danny Ings, especially because I have to figure out if I'm going to make this transfer, which I'm 99% sure I will. But just to go ahead and, I think I'll wait and actually make the transfer tomorrow morning. But who knows? Maybe I make it today just in case I forget, because I don't really think anything's going to change. And that would be selling Calvert-Lewin or Antonio. Probably Antonio, simply because Calvert-Lewin is likely to have the double game week. Well, let's check. Calvert-Lewin is likely to have the double game week 26 and then 27 or 28. Or probably both, actually. I think he's going to have a lot of fixtures coming up here. He'll get Chelsea and then Aston Villa or West Brom and then Burnley, and then the other one of Aston Villa or West Brom in 27 and 28. So looks pretty good for Calvert-Lewin as long as he can remain healthy. Let me see if there's any news on Calvert-Lewin. Calvert-Lewin injury. Let's look up some Calvert-Lewin injury news. That's pretty important. I think he'll be decently okay, like enough to play soon enough, but we never really know for sure. But yes, also I have got my new stream sort of set up in terms of the visual layout of everything. Let's see. Okay, apparently Ancelotti said he should be fit to start against Liverpool on Sunday. On Saturday. So that seems fine. So yeah, Allen should be back as well for Everton, and that's a pretty important player for them. So with that in mind, I'm pretty sure Antonio is the one who's got to go here. Not necessarily because he's a bad option, but just because Antonio's better, and I want Ings, and not Antonio's better. Calvert-Lewin's better, but Antonio doesn't really have many doubles, if any at all. Hey Ollie, how's it going? These fixtures aren't good anyway. Like, even if for whatever reason he gets a random double, there's a good chance it will be paired with another bad matchup. So yeah, really not liking the look of Mr. Antonio at all. Let's go back to Twitter and let's check out Mr. Danny Ings. But yeah, at the moment, the main reason for Ings if we go back to the likely games played, you can see Southampton are up here on the top. Let me know if you can see this clearly, by the way, because I zoomed out a little bit so that you can see more of the screen. But if it's not big enough, then let me know. I know it depends on mobile or laptop or all that, but I think it's better this way. Anyway, so Southampton, based on what Pep said, the Game Week 27. Wait, let me make sure I got this right. Let me actually go back here. Actually, no, I remember. It's Wolves and Man City will play in Game Week 26, and then Game Week 27 will be Man City and Southampton as part of the double. So for Danny Ings, that means they get the double Game Week 25, and then Game Week 27 they play Sheffield United and then Man City. So basically they play Sheffield United, and then he gets an extra 2 points. So it's not amazing, but it's still a double, and it's still somebody I would like to have. And if somehow Southampton do manage to score, if they get a penalty or something, it's almost going to be Ings. So yeah, and then a possible double in 26 as well for Southampton. Other than that, the matchups this week, you get the Leeds matchup, which looks pretty good, and then you get an extra matchup against Chelsea, which isn't great, but I still like Danny Ings over this time period. You got some good fixtures mixed in with an extra hard fixture, but I don't know. Watching Danny Ings, I remember one time, one of the games he blanked recently, he hit the post. And he just generally was the kind of player where I expected that to not happen. I expected him. He didn't look like he was out of confidence, or he didn't look like a poor finisher in the game. He just sort of got unlucky. Things didn't go in for him, and that's the vibe I got, and that's why I will be going with Mr. Danny Ings this week. Hey, should I get Burn or White? They're both Brighton defenders. Let me take a look. I'm probably leaning towards White at the moment, because Burns the left back, and I feel like there's a little bit more possibility for rotation. But I mean, I get why you're looking at Brighton players, but sometimes they're just kind of rotation risks. But White, I mean, when you look at this record, I think it's pretty safe to say that's the one I would go for. Yeah, I would go for White for sure. Actually, I didn't realize how much he's played all season. So they get a pretty good fixture this week. And Brighton, so I assume you're getting them in for the, well, they just have good fixtures in general, like, but they also play in Game Week 29, so that could be handy. But yeah, those are pretty decent fixtures. I would go with White. And for Game Week 25, Areola versus Martinez. I mean, I think I would go Areola. It's Sheffield United. I mean, I could see both teams losing their clean sheets, to be honest. But I think they're both fine options, but I would go with Areola. I mean, it's Leicester against Villa. I haven't been too impressed with Villa recently, and I think Leicester looked pretty good. I mean, like if it was, I'm trying to think of a good team besides Leicester, because obviously Sheffield United are pretty bottom of the barrel, right? If it was like Burnley, like a little bit easier matchup than Leicester, then it would be tougher. But I think for me, Areola just nudges it because of that's a big difference in fixture. Either one you'd be happy with. And Grealish or Son, not too impressed with either one at the moment, to be honest. I think I would go with Son though. Grealish, the one hope I have for him against Leicester, and the one reason I'm playing him at the moment, if we go back to my team for a second, one reason I'm kind of okay with starting him is because a lot of teams have been giving him the real focused treatment defensively where he gets all the attention. And although that may keep happening, I wouldn't be surprised if it does. Against the bigger teams like Leicester, you wouldn't be too surprised if they, spend more time getting forward and spend less time changing their whole tactics defensively to deal with Grealish. I think it would be smart to do that, but that's a whole nother story. I mean, I think it's going to be tough for him. He hasn't had much goal threat recently. He always has assist threat, but I mean, I guess I could play Stones over him, but I'm just not sold yet. Well, so right now what I'm planning on doing is simply Antonio to Ings, and then I'll start Ings over Calvert-Lewin. But I mean, Calvert-Lewin, you could play him over Grealish, and I wouldn't say that was the worst thing ever. I mean, Liverpool don't look great defensively, so I think that would be pretty good. And Calvert-Lewin's the kind of person that I just don't really like benching him. I mean, he's just too good. So who knows? Ollie, my chip strategy basically, it's honestly, I'm going to deal with all the double game weeks without using a chip as much as possible. I'm planning as if I'm going to use the free hit in blank game week 29 at the moment. And it's not the highest upside thing. But if I get there, and then there will also be, so there's Brighton, Newcastle, Fulham, Leeds, West Ham, Arsenal, and then there's also going to be the Tottenham, Aston Villa game, I believe, that will be in this double game week. So we have some decent fixtures here where we can at least get decent players in for the free hit. If I somehow am able to deal with the doubles and also have a good team in game week 29, then I don't know what I'll do with my free hit. I've already used bench boost. I've already used my second wild card. I haven't used triple captain. That's right. That's the other thing. Basically I have one free week where I can just leave out of my planning and I can free hit in that week. The other week is going to be so in the double game weeks, I just have to search for a player to triple captain, and that's likely going to be in game week 26, which I could free hit then, but I'm going to have so many double game week players that I think the free hit is still most likely in 29. But if somehow I see a good way to get enough players for game week 29, then I can free hit in the double, and I feel like that's a little more upside, but I'm not planning on doing that. So right now it's a free hit 29 and triple captain. Really 26, 27, or 28. So likely candidates, maybe Salah in 26. Man City have 3 doubles in this time, I think. So, maybe Gundogan, maybe I mean, I don't really love any of the Man City guys with the Gundogan injury. We'll see what happens. I mean, maybe Gundogan when they play United and Southampton, but that's still not like too great. If I bring in, I mean, Bruno in 26, they play Chelsea and Crystal Palace. That's an option. It's not terrible. I wouldn't feel like I was going too wrong with that. Same thing with Salah against Sheffield United and Chelsea. I don't think that's the worst time ever. But I think Sheffield United tend to do pretty well against Liverpool. So I don't think I'll do that. I'll be happy to have Salah, maybe captain him. But what I was going to say is if I decide to do Rashford to Son next week, now Rashford will double as well as Son. But if I did that, then maybe that would give me a nice triple captaincy option with Son playing Burnley and then Fulham or Southampton. Two good matchups. That could be very nice, actually. So that's sort of the high upside move that I'm planning on doing. It's not really the kind of transfer I typically make, but considering the fact that I'm just not a huge fan of Rashford as an FPL option, I would be perfectly fine with selling him against Chelsea and then Crystal Palace. But I'm keeping him for this week. Who knows? Maybe it's his last week. I mean, if that gives me a clear chance to use triple captain, then I could pull the trigger. And it would be kind of high upside, also high risk, though, getting rid of a player that can do so well, especially in a double game week. So, yeah. I wouldn't take out Bruno or Salah. I just can't do it. Like, I think there's too much there. There's too many points putting at risk. And I know it's kind of boring, but I think there's probably like safer transfers to make. You just run the risk of making such a dirty transfer where, well, I call it a dirty transfer where you get rid of a player and they get a lot of points. Because it's just not, I don't know, it's just not the kind of moves I like to make. But, so, I mean, Salah against Everton and Sheffield United as part of a double, and then Fulham. I mean, these are, I would never sell Salah ahead of that. And sort of the same thing goes for Bruno. We got Newcastle and then a double. Gameweek 27 maybe, because then they go up against Man City, West Ham, and then they blank. So if you're gonna sell Bruno, I think it would be later, but I would definitely have them for the double. You're gonna get 90 minutes out of them. They're on penalties. They're on teams that could hit form basically any time, I would say. So yeah, for me, these aren't. I don't really have any interest in selling them. The only thing you could do, like if you're going to wildcard in 20, 25 or 20, maybe 26. Either way, if you're going to wildcard soon, it may be the case where you could like sell them and then get them right back. But, if you do that with Salah or Bruno, you're still looking at getting rid of them ahead of matchups where I think they could do well in. So I'm just not a huge fan of it, to be honest. And Salah's numbers have been great recently in terms of expected goals still. Now, some of that's been aided by penalties, but that's something you get with Salah, of course. And they've gotten decent FPL points, too, recently. Bruno, 17, 7, and 9. Salah, 15, 2, 7, 7. I mean, I don't know. I'm just not down with that at all, really. But, triple captaincy this week could go to Bamford. If they had Calvin Phillips, it would make me a little bit more confident. Calvin Phillips, I'm not too sold that he'll make, okay, obviously when you miss a good player, it's going to hurt the team. But him being out for Leeds, I still transferred in Dallas this week. I'm not too worried. I'm really it's going to hurt, but it's not big enough to make me really freak out about it. Yeah, I don't know if Gundogan's going to play against Arsenal. And I would, for this week, Pope or Martinez. Who do they play? Oh, yeah, so, again, we got Aston Villa playing Leicester. And Pope, I would play Pope all day, I think. I mean, I know Martinez has been so good for points, but I respect Leicester too much as a fixture to I would not pass up that West Brom fixture is what I'm saying. Grealish or Watkins, I mean, it's always tough. I think I would start Watkins at the moment. He just had more goal threat. He has some assist potential as well. The week I say this is going to be when Grealish finally takes a penalty, which we've been waiting for the longest time, speculating if he's on penalties or not. And he should be at this point from what I've heard, but I think Watkins is just a little more likely, but, can't go too wrong with either one, I'd say. Yeah, about captaincy this week. Oh, yeah, so this is how my game week went. 105 points. I finally broke, I haven't broke 100 much in my FPL career, but I did it twice this season, so that's pretty good. And this was pretty good. So target first sub was beautiful. I mentioned in the deadline stream how I really thought they were going to keep a clean sheet, and I wish I could have started him, but I just didn't see a way for him to come into my team, and he didn't have that much upside, so I was like, not really worth the start. And Sufal kept a clean sheet as well, so it didn't really matter which way I ordered that in the end. But Areola with the 8-pointer in the double game week, that's not bad. Stones and Cancelo. Could have had more, of course, if Stones would have played. Maybe they would have kept that clean sheet. And Gundogan, so obviously it was big on Twitter. Like, really, you didn't really see anybody complaining that Gundogan only got the one game. But all you saw was people complaining about how people were complaining. One of these things, like non-captainers. But to be fair, there is reason. Gundogan captainers were unlucky in a way. It is what it is. It's the FPL. We're always going to want as many points as possible. Just because he did so well in the first game doesn't mean he's not unlucky to do poorly and to miss the second game. So, yeah, it does suck for Gundogan captainers, as much as you guys probably don't want to hear it if you didn't captain Gundogan. In a way, I would consider him performing kind of lucky too, like the way he did. Considering how many points he got, there was some fortune in that, not that we couldn't see it coming at all, but definitely what's more involved with luck than that is an injury, because you can't predict those at all. So, yeah, I think overall Gundogan captainers were kind of unlucky. So, I think you just got to deal with it. You got to deal with the complaints, but obviously I can't complain. My captaincy's finally worked. I mean, I've been struggling with it a bit recently. And Lowton, that was just the people that were most unlucky. I feel like were people that got Ben Mee. Yeah, that's just a tough one. There's just nothing to even say other than it was just unlucky, especially in comparison to Lowton. The injury was just tough. But Bamford, he wasn't too involved, but he was his usual self. Where I felt like he's always making good runs and getting in good positions. I think Gundogan is just a great fantasy Premier League option. And Rashford just so disappointing. It's just always the way. And Manchester United's attack was terrible. It was so bad. I feel like some of Rashford's points recently have been lucky. So he got even this assist against Burnley. That was one thing he did all game. He crossed the ball for a volley for Pogba at the top of the box, and it was a lovely finish from Pogba. That probably shouldn't have went in. Then he blanks in a bunch of games, and then he gets the 9-0 against Southampton when they just get a red card early on, and he's almost handed points. And then Everton, I don't remember that assist, to be honest. I can't say I remember it, but he picked up another assist. I just haven't been impressed at all with him. So yeah, it is what it is. 105 points. Very happy with that though. So yeah, finally got a little bit of luck there overall. And I've already brought in Dallas this week. Got rid of Sufal. I'm not interested in West Ham that much anymore. Hey Hoxton, how's it going? No, I'm not wildcarding. I've already used my second wildcard fish. If you want to bring in a Spurs defender, so obviously they have a lot of fixtures coming up. This is probably the case where I'm just going to go with the most nailed guy, which would probably be Eric Dyer. And he's also reasonably cheap in comparison. I think he's the one I would choose. I know he's got rotated a little bit recently. I haven't even paid attention to their defenders because there's always that risk of rotation, and they haven't defended that well anyway. For that reason, I would probably try to say look at Villa defenders maybe. Maybe even the double up would be a little more worth it. I just don't like Tottenham's defenders. But if you wanted to choose one, it's almost got to be Dyer or Davies, doesn't it? There's really no other options I'm interested in. Sanchez is too much of a rotation risk. Alderweireld, he costs too much. In this case, you got to take the cheaper options if you're dealing with rotation. Go Davies or Dyer and just hope. I would expect Dyer to be reasonably nailed on. So I think that's the one I would go for, but you never know. I guess with Reguilon being injured, I don't know the status of his injury, so we'd have to find out. But again, I don't think because if Reguilon's out, obviously Davies would be great, but again, I just don't love them too much defensively. But yeah, so let's go to Ings. First of all, let's just take the peripheral glance at what his threat and creativity is over the season. And that's not great. 12th for threat, 13th for creativity over the course of the season. Not like a leader in minutes or anything, so you could say that helps him out a little bit. But we're also talking about Danny Ings, who is a great finisher. And let's pull up the old statistics here. Hey, I'm good. Grealish out, Rafinha in. I'm not against that move because, Grealish has a lot of fixtures coming up, so I'm going to try to hold him personally, and if I have to, he's got a double next week. I guess I'm never really going to bench him, but I'm just going to hope for the best. But Grealish is somebody that I could really see us wanting back soon. So it's not terrible, especially for this week, but just keep in mind that if he starts doing well, the fixtures are they're just so there for him. But yeah, no. Overall, I mean, obviously Antonio out and Ings in is what I'm going to do. I love that move, and I think Rafinha is actually a good option. The one thing I will say is that I heard FPL Lens and also they talked about it on the Scoutcast. I think it was. Maybe it was the captaincy options video. They talked about how who do Leeds play? Oh yeah, and I think it was Southampton. Wait, am I right? Yeah. So obviously when Leeds play Wolves and Southampton. Now Wolves is an okay matchup, but they can be difficult sometimes. And then Southampton have been very poor defensively, but they're actually top 5, I believe, in defending on their left side, which would be Leeds' right side, and that's where Rafinha generally plays as right wing. Now he does switch around sometimes in game, but in general he plays right wing. And they've been very poor. Southampton have defended very poorly down their right side, and part of that is due to Kyle Walker-Peters being injured. It's just terrible for them apparently. They've given up probably, I think they said triple the chances down the one side, and down the middle they're kind of average, but it's really down the one side where they're really terrible. So that would be the one thing to put me off Rafinha. Other than that, I mean, he just looks great. So yeah, I mean, if you have another way, if you can just do, I don't think you can, but if you could just do Antonio to Ings without doing that move, then I think I would do that. But overall, I can't be against it. So Rafinha or Harrison, this sort of opens up talking about that. I still think I would go Rafinha over Harrison. I like them both, though. It sort of sucks for Harrison because he's a good fantasy option, but I don't really see it being too viable for a lot of us to get them in. So Rafinha, even though that statistic, I think it does mean something. Obviously, they still have another game, though. And anything can still happen. A team can change their tactics in the game to deal with their weaknesses. A lot of things can happen. So looking at the tactical advantages of certain players over others for a given matchup, I like it. It's something to always keep in mind. But I'm not a fan of basing decisions solely on that because things can change. Teams can make just little changes that make a big difference. So with that said, Rafinha takes pretty much all the corners, not all of them, but he takes a lot of corners, and that's something you're always going to get in every game. At least 3 corners, I would say, probably more, especially against Southampton, and each one has a small chance of getting scored on, but that's just another extra bonus for Rafinha. And then we'd have to get into actual numbers. So let's pull up let's go to over the past month as usual, which is what I do. Let's go since January 12th, and let's pull up some players here. Let's go with Rafinha. We'll put in Bamford. We'll put in Ings. We will put in what's his name, Harrison, Jack Harrison, and we will also put in My strikers, Antonio and Calvert-Lewin. Just for comparison, let's just see what's going on there. Antonio and Calvert-Lewin. Anybody else that should be thrown in here? You know what? I'll throw in Dallas just for good measure. Another Leeds player. So, let me apply the date change. So, since January 12th, I'll go full season after this. If we look at expected goals per 90 minutes, I mean, we got Antonio, Calvert-Lewin, Ings, Bamford, Rafinha, Harrison, Dallas in that order. Now, this is sort of what I was talking about with Rafinha and Harrison. This isn't all down to corners, I'm sure, but Rafinha has higher expected goals per 90 minutes by 0.08, but the expected assists per 90 minutes, I think this is cut off. I don't think you can quite see it on your screen, but it's 0.22 for Rafinha per 90 minutes, and it's 0.02. Per 90 minutes for Harrison, and you can see the totals here. Rafinha's also played more minutes, less likely to be subbed off, and I think these things make a big difference. The one thing I will say about Harrison is he's finished very well recently. As you can see, he's got 3 goals with less big chances, basically, than Rafinha. But if we go back to the full season, I think we may see, we'll see what we see. And, that trend's actually sort of kept up. We see over the course of the season, Harrison has more goals than Rafinha. And he has less expected goals per 90 minutes. But he does have more expected goals because he's played more minutes, because he's been there the whole time. So it's kind of hard to compare them over the whole season. But because of the last month numbers, basically, that's kind of why I'm favoring Rafinha. You can see the biggest difference really is with the creativity, because that's a huge difference. Expected assists per 90 minutes over 0.2 more. Hi, Donna. Sorry, Miss Donna. So Stuart Dallas, this is actually pretty good for Stuart Dallas as well. We got expected goals of 0.1 and expected assists of 0.06. Now, expected numbers aren't everything, because this is also a guy that's playing center midfield. So in general, he's in a better place to score goals, I would say, in the middle of the field, in a place where he can drift up into the edge of the box more often than other fullbacks. So that's important to keep in mind besides just the numbers. So that's one reason I brought Dallas in. I think he's too good. Even with their injury to Calvin Phillips, it doesn't really bother me with Dallas at all. Now, Bamford, his numbers are better than Rafinha and Harrison, but they're not so much better that he's definitely the best one of them. But with that said, over the course of the season, if you look at them, I'm pretty sure you would say Bamford's got it on lock for sure. But Ings now, he's been unlucky. He should have scored more based on his expected goals. Should have had more assists, but he does beat Bamford in both categories. Expected goals per 90 minutes and expected assists per 90 minutes. And he has played one less game, so that sort of explains why he's played less minutes. But expected goals per 90 minutes, Antonio and Calvert-Lewin kill these guys, over 0.2, basically 20% more likely. So, very nice from their perspectives. But I will be selling Antonio this week simply because he doesn't have doubles. And he's still, even though he's got that high expected goals, he's still underperformed and only scored 2 when he should have scored 3.82 in the past month. My eye test sort of agrees with that. I don't think he's necessarily been finishing off his chances. He could have scored against Man City even. He missed a pretty big chance that game. So, if I make this move, I have 0.4 in the bank, and that gives me plenty of wiggle room to do Rashford to Son. Not that I need it, if that's what I want to do next week. Just quickly search Ings on Twitter, make sure there hasn't been an injury or anything crazy. Oh yeah, Dallas came in. Yeah, Dallas, wow. His points total was pretty bad. So yeah, I feel bad for you. Rafinha or Bamford? I would go Bamford all day, really, as far as captaincy goes. Pope or McCarthy? I would go Pope. Pope. I couldn't say no to Pope this week. That's such a good matchup. Is Gundogan playing next game? Let's look it up. Gundogan injury. Check out the latest news on Twitter. Everybody's favorite news site. I think Brighton's defense is kind of well recognized at this point. I mean, they should be. I feel like White's a good option. I looked him up earlier. He's played a lot this season. He's nailed on. And Brighton defend pretty well. I've said before, I don't think they can finish very well. Obviously, it doesn't really impact them. That's a funny post. I mean, as far as I'm sure, as far as I'm aware, not sure. Gundogan's injury status is unknown, and this is what this guy's posting as well. We basically don't know, and that's actually something that I should probably look at. One thing I will say is that if you want to know for sure, check out, I think we'll likely have a team news video out tomorrow. So check that out, and they'll give you all the information that's available. Oof. According to Football London, I don't know how reliable this is. He expects Gundogan to be fit to face Arsenal in the Premier League on Sunday. But we just don't know. Even if he's fit, I mean, I feel like a lot of us have pretty decent subs this week, right? Who knows? But we don't really know yet. I'm gonna wait for tomorrow and watch the Fantasy Football Scout team news, and I'm gonna see what they say about it. That's honestly what I'm gonna do. And then because they'll know better than I do, because Neil and all of them are pretty good at all that stuff. The one transfer I've made so far is Stuart to Dallas. Keep Digne or Soufal, and should I get Target to replace them? Thanks, Adam. Thanks for the bless you. Keep Digne or Soufal, and should I get Target to replace them? I would, if you're looking to make a transfer like this, I would sell Soufal. Digne, he's probably too expensive, don't get me wrong, but I think, unless you want to get rid of him and really, if you want that money to like maybe get Kane in the future or maybe go to Ings, if there's somebody you really want with the money, then maybe Digne, but Soufal without any doubles really and tough fixtures, Soufal is the obvious safe sell where you can be pretty safe that it's not going to be a dirty transfer. You're going to get rid of him and he's probably not going to do anything. So you can keep that in mind. That's pretty safe. And Target, Target's fine. I have him. He's going to play 90 minutes every week. He's on Villa. He's got a lot of fixtures coming up. So if we go to the old fixture page on Ben Krillin's Twitter, we can see, and if you're not following Ben Krillin, of course, you should be on Twitter. But this is his spreadsheet, and he talks about, or he doesn't talk about, but it's listed. So Villa have the double in 26, Everton / Sheffield United, then Leeds. So two pretty good fixtures, I would say. And then they play in 29, if that's useful for you. And then at some point in 27 or 28, they'll get the other double of Everton Sheffield United. That's what I'm seeing. So I'm not exactly sure how that'll work out. But so we're looking at a double in 26, then a 1 in 27 or 28, and then they play in 29. Now, them playing in 29 isn't useful for me, but it may be useful for you if you're planning on building up towards having a full team that week, which I think most people will do, to be honest. And that's why I would expect, as far as the template goes, as far as like the highly owned players, I would expect Tottenham and Villa and Leeds to be very highly owned because they have some doubles and they also play in 29. So if you're wildcarding now, you would probably want, Kane, Son, maybe Grealish, Watkins, maybe just Watkins target, maybe Watkins target Martinez, Sane and Kun. You'd want them, and then from Leeds, Obviously, probably a triple up. Dallas, Rafinha, Bamford. Maybe Dallas, Ailing, Bamford. Maybe Harrison, Rafinha, Bamford. Leeds aren't good defensively. You could go that way as well. But I think I would triple up on Leeds for sure. And probably Villa too. I would probably go double. Looking at their fixtures, I think I would go double defensively with Villa maybe. Maybe I'd double up on get their goalkeeper. Who knows? I mean, I like Areola too. Areola is just such good value, I feel like, because they play in 29. They've got a double coming up, and it's just, he's so cheap too. He's 4.5. Martinez's prices just went up so much over the course of the season. So, yeah. Those teams will be pretty popular. Start Cancelo or White? Okay. I think you have to start Cancelo. I know it's kind of boring at this point, just starting him every week, but I think you have to do that. So White or Rudiger? I never know who Chelsea play anymore because I don't have any of their players. So they play Southampton. I don't know how I feel about that compared to Brighton playing Crystal Palace. If let's check out Zaha's injury status, because with them not having Zaha makes me want to just say play. Yeah, honestly, I would play White because Palace without Zaha have been just so bad. It's been just go back if you have a way to watch the full version of games. Just go back and watch Crystal Palace's last 2 games. Like, if you really just want to just pretend you're a Palace fan and just be frustrated, or just like, you know what, don't even waste your time and do that. Like, it's just so awful. It was so bad. 2-0 to Leeds, they lost, and 3-0 to Burnley. Like, honestly, I thought they were so bad. Oh, man. But yeah, so for me personally, like, it sort of sucks to bench Rudiger. Probably some bench points there, but it's always good to have at least one good player on the bench, I would say, even if you end up regretting it. But yeah, that Crystal Palace matchup is too good. Does anybody play Crystal Palace as part of a double? Ooh, that's right. If Zaha is still out for Gameweek 26, that could be interesting, because Bruno plays Chelsea, which isn't great, but then they play Crystal Palace. That could be big. Who knows? Those Tottenham matchups they're just so there though. They're just so good. Burnley and then Fulham or Southampton. I don't know. I don't really trust United though. Like, I don't really see a clear place to use triple captain. I could put it this week on Ings or Bamford. I wouldn't go Ings though. I wouldn't really go Bamford. I just don't trust their teams enough to put out consistent good performances, and it is what it is. Let's just take a quick look at over the past month. Let's take a quick look at team statistics. So expected goals against the worst teams have been Fulham. Well, Fulham have also played 1 extra game, so I would say really it's Newcastle. So Newcastle have been worse, and then I would say Southampton, because they've only played 6. They've only played 6 games, but they're right up there with Burnley and Fulham, who've played 9. So, I think Southampton are actually the worst. Southampton, Newcastle, then maybe Tottenham, Fulham, and Burnley all there in the same group, and West Brom kind of up there, and Crystal Palace right there with them. All those are kind of together. Tottenham have been worse than West Brom, Crystal Palace, Sheffield United, Liverpool, Leeds. Like, that's pretty bad. But yeah, Brighton not bad. Brighton slightly, they're in the top 10 for best expected goals against. But the probable, I would say I cannot talk today. I would say the most significant thing about this is Brighton have conceded 7 goals against, or 7 expected goals against, but they've only conceded 2 goals. That's incredible goalkeeping, incredible poor finishing maybe, but that looks pretty good from a Brighton perspective. And I think we'll see the same thing from Villa. I know they haven't been great defensively, but they've 11.5 expected goals against, only 8 conceded. That's pretty good. And the same goes for City. 4 goals against would be the expected goals against, but only conceded 2. But Brighton are the kings of that at the moment. Burnley up there too, of course, but Burnley are always like that. And Fulham with Areola, 13.67 expected goals against, only 9 goals conceded. The man himself, Areola. Leeds haven't been terrible defensively. Again, they're like probably about 10th. Defended better than Liverpool, but much worse than Brighton and Leicester. But Chelsea have been very good defensively recently. But nobody's even come close to Man City. Man City have played 9 games, 2 more than Chelsea. The same expected goals against in the past month or so. And over the same time, looking at expected goals, obviously first is Man City, almost doubling second place, Manchester United. Now they've also played 1 extra game, but still. So they have 20 expected goals, and they've scored 25. United, 13 expected goals, 17 converted. Hopefully they'll throw some more in the back of the net this week for me. I need Rashford to do something. West Ham have 13 expected goals, and they scored 13, so they're right on track. So those are the top 3. And then right after that, we still have Liverpool, who have significantly underperformed. And this is something that's basically been happening a lot because of Salah, I would say. He's had some chances where he's missed them, but not so much recently. Last game he was pretty fine, I would say. And Chelsea have done the same thing. They've underperformed a decent amount. So those are the top guys. And Fulham, Fulham are beating... never mind. I was going to say something stupid. I realized they played 2 extra games. But worse are Crystal Palace. Southampton have played 1 less game, but they're right there at the bottom too. And Leeds have not been great recently either, but they're still, they've still been better than Everton, I would say. But yeah, Crystal Palace are the worst for sure. Very much behind everybody in terms of their expected goals, and that's the reason I love Brighton defenders for this week. Longer term, I don't know if I can just trust Brighton's defense, but as I said, that number there was pretty interesting. They haven't conceded many, even with the amount of chances they've given up. Really, Kane might be injured? Let's check the validity, sir. Is Kane injured? Yeah, luckily I haven't really thought to bring him in too much. Well, I see a bunch of Kane injury mentions within the last 10 minutes, so yeah, I mean, maybe they did rush him back, so I could see that. But we'll see. Again, this is probably something we're going to have to wait for tomorrow to really get a lot of news on, but we never know. Yeah, that's why it sucks that I won't be able to deadline stream tomorrow, because there could be some big things. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to change my team at the last second. So hopefully I get it right when I am able to make my changes. I'll probably just go with Ings. I think that's pretty safe, right? I mean, Ings could always get hurt. Don't get me wrong. Ings is never safe, but it's not like he's had an injury too recently, right? Has he? I know he did a little bit earlier, but should be fine. Mr. Daniel Ings. I don't even know if his name's Daniel. But, some people were like, oh, he scored the first time since Gameweek 19. I mean, yeah, but he also, he scored against Wolves in the league, but he also scored against them in the Cup, a couple of days before that. So, scored 2 goals recently. Now he's got a double game week and some good fixtures after that. I think Ings almost has to come into the team. Let's check out who's gonna rise in price pretty soon. I think the biggest guy we're gonna have to get news on is Gunnigan, though. Mr. Ilkay Gudua, however you say his name. So Ings is probably gonna go up tonight, and I know right now is probably not the time to be focused on price rises, but I'll probably just take the risk and bring him in. Grealish, Calvert-Lewin, and McCarthy all to drop tonight. Thiago Silva to drop soon. Most of this is irrelevant, though. Yeah, maybe Amara's drop soon. The rest of this is whatever. Yeah, nothing really significant here, I would say. But Ings going up tonight, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and just pull the shrinker on Ings. It doesn't matter to me. Antonio out. Ings in. Mr. Danny Ings. Let's go back to his statistics real quick. And I got Donna up here. Can you guys hear Donna when she meows? I mean, she doesn't really... Typically, she's just yelling all the time. But she gets up here, she doesn't really talk much. Because she must think I'm talking to her, so she's getting attention. So I guess she doesn't have to yell then. Hey, Nuclear Adams. Yeah, the template, I mean, having a template team could be nice because, you know, if it's just getting you a lot of points, you'll get green arrows, of course, but and yeah, Dunk for Sufal sounds good, but I think I would go White over Dunk. I think he's a little more rotation friendly, but then again, I don't know the most about Brighton, so maybe he isn't. You can't do Ings to Antonio straight up, so I may have to downgrade Pope to Ariel and Justin to Rudiger, as I still plan to bench boost. I mean, I like Ings. I don't know if he's that worth it. I mean, I know you're trying to bench boost, so you could get some value out of it. I mean, that's a tough one. That's almost too tough to call. Because, like, selling Pope and Justin, like, I mean, well, selling Justin makes sense, right? But Pope, he could get some points after you get rid of him, that's for sure. As far as I've heard, Calvert-Lewin should be fine for a Liverpool game. So I'm keeping Calvert-Lewin. So is City defense risk against Arsenal? I don't, first of all, risk isn't necessarily a good or bad thing. It just is what it is. So I wouldn't, just because it's risky, it wouldn't really make a difference. Or that's the way I would look at it. I wouldn't try to have it make a difference in your decision making. But Arsenal, obviously they're always a risk to score. Don't get me wrong. They've been pretty decent recently. Above mid-table in terms of their expected goals. But Man City have been so good defensively. Like, it will look bad if they score, but I think, it depends on the other options you have. But I quite like the look of it. I'm gonna bench Stones, instead of Grealish, but it really just depends. Let's go back to the numbers real quick. Man City, expected goals against, which isn't everything, but still, it's pretty significant when they've played 9 games, and in that time they've given up 4.25 expected goals against, and of those they've only conceded 2. So get down. So in comparison, Chelsea have also been really good defensively recently. They've played 7 games and they've given up the exact same amount. So that's 2 less games than City, but still the same amount of expected goals against. And they've also conceded 3 of those, so 1 extra one. So I don't think you can ever go too wrong with Man City defensively. Double up is fine. I wouldn't be too worried about it. Who knows? That may end up happening for me if Gundogan doesn't play. Stones will come in, and I'm okay with that. Actually, maybe not. Maybe I'll put Calvert-Lewin first sub. It's not the kind of... I don't think I would play Stones or Diaz over like a decent attacker. I'm not sure if they have like the highest upside ever. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and bring in Ings. Mr. Danny Ings, he fits my team pretty well. Gives me some doubles. And hopefully he can get some goals. Ings in. Yeah, after Gameweek 26, we're still going to want triple City, I think. And I think the best way to do that would be double defense, personally. You may disagree, but so... because Man City, I think they'll have a double in... Yeah, so they have a double in 27. As far as, based on what Pep said, they'll double in 26 and 27. Like, that's sort of what he hinted at. And then after that, they'll play Fulham. So I see no reason to, like, really... We don't need it, necessarily. I don't think we ever really need it, but yeah, for 26, 27, 28, I like Man City still. I'm happy keeping that double defensively. And the fixtures are pretty good, too. Obviously, double 26 is great. 27 is Man United and Southampton, I believe. So, that's pretty decent. I don't know. It's okay. Southampton is a good matchup, is what I'm saying. And United have had their weaknesses, but the main thing is Man City are just so good defensively. Yeah, that's the cap that made. Well, she made me captain Doherty, which was incorrect at the time. But so Donna, she when was it? It was last season. It was before 2020. It was in 2019, first half of the season. I think maybe not. But my decision, it was the Leicester Liverpool game, and I had to decide to play Madison or Trent Alexander-Arnold, and so I left it up to Donna, and she picked the toy that I labeled as Trent Alexander-Arnold, and then Trent Alexander-Arnold went on to score 2 goals, get an assist, and keep a clean sheet, and got like over 20 points. Oh, so that's what the rumor is, because Kane's not in the squad against Wolfsburg. Okay, it could be due to injury. They could just be resting him. We really don't know. I think we're gonna have to wait for tomorrow. I'm gonna hopefully get some news about it. I don't know if the press conferences are gonna be out in time before the deadline, because it's a Friday deadline. So I'm not sure. I don't think we'll know for sure. I think either way we're kind of gonna have to be guessing, and it's unfortunate that we don't have the answer. But I think that's simply gonna be what it is. I like Kane for Game Week 26 as a triple captaincy option if he's healthy. I think those are amazing fixtures. But if he's healthy, scares me right now. For that reason, I'm kind of more comfortable if I do transfer in Son and triple captain him. I think that's decent enough. I like Kane over Son, though, when they're both healthy, pretty much most of the time. I don't think you have to get rid of Salah, no. I mean, if that's your plan to get rid of Salah, if Kane isn't injured, I don't really think you have to get rid of Salah regardless. I mean, I think in your situation, because I think I know what I addressed it at some point. I think it did make sense because the players you're going to bring in, and I think Kane's a great option. But if he's injured, let's look at it this way. If there's uncertainty about whether Kane is injured, should you do it? I think I personally would lean towards no for this week. And then next week, just hope we know before Game Week 26, because that's really the week you would want to bring him in anyway. And Liverpool against Everton, you can always get something in that game, and Salah's got pretty good underlying statistics, so... No, so Donna is my girlfriend's cat. She got Donna from the shelter, and yes, I mean she's always been small. She wasn't. She was probably like 6 to 9 months. I'm not exactly sure when my girlfriend got Donna, but yeah, Donna's got me some FPL points over there. Last season, she got me a decent amount. I haven't asked for her services recently, though. I haven't asked her any dilemmas. Maybe I should soon, but glad I didn't last week because I chose Gunnigan and it worked out. So Ings into the team. So this makes it look like this. I think Calvert-Lewin goes to the bench, and then it's a debate between Calvert-Lewin and Stones for sub. I think it's reasonably important, especially with Gunnigan not being 100% certain. I feel like I have a lot of talisman now that should play 90 minutes every week. Bruno, Ings, Bamford, Salah, Grealish. That's pretty good. So I think for now I'm going to put Calvert-Lewin for a sub. There's always a chance that Stones would come in if Cancelo doesn't play. But yeah, I like the look of this team, and vice captain would have to go to Ings now. The one thing I could do if I was like taking a risk is to do a -4 like Grealish to what's his name, Rafinha. I just don't. I mean, I don't love Grealish. I could even play Stones or Calvert-Lewin over him. Let's look at Grealish's number. Let's add some more players to our little player list here, and let's add Grealish. Let's add Watkins for comparison within the same team. Let's add, this is understat.com, by the way. That's understat.com that I'm using. And then we have Watkins. And who else is there? Grealish, Watkins. I'll just add them for now. So, Mr. Jack Grealish, expected goals per 90 minutes over the past 7 games is 0.14. That is only 0.04 better than Stuart Dallas. And that's not good. That's worse than Harrison, Rafinha, Bamford, Ings, Watkins, Calvert-Lewin, and Antonio, and many more people. So the goal threat is simply not there. Oh, man. Maybe benching Grealish makes sense. But if I was to sell him, then all of a sudden, he's got 2 games in Gameweek 26. He plays Leeds and then Everton or Sheffield United. Those are good fixtures. I'm going to want him then, especially against Leeds. I like Villa in that game. So I don't think I can sell him. If anything, I think I would bench him. Now, I would like a way to bring in Rafinha. Maybe a -4 to get rid of a single game week player could make sense. But I'm not, as I said, Man City, we're going to want the triple up when they play double game week 26 and then double game week 27. And then also a good matchup in 28 doesn't hurt. So we'll want triple City probably. I could triple up defensively. But I could just gun into Rafinha now. I don't really see it happening. But what I was going to say is the issue is I have so many good midfielders that for me personally, bringing Rafinha in doesn't work. And it is what it is. I'm okay with that. I'm okay. I think the team looks fine. I think a green arrow is very likely here. But you never know. I mean, take out Salah or Bruno. I think these transfers, Oyson, I should say, I think they look fine. The one thing I would be worried about is taking out Salah or Bruno. Those are big deals. So bring in Rafinha, then also Ings in for Antonio in game week 26. Bring in Kane for Calvert-Lewin or Bamford. See, I'm not big on the. I know you'd want to bring in Kane. Bringing in Kane gives you the captaincy option for 26. And that could be huge for triple captaincy. But Calvert-Lewin, okay, maybe Bamford. Maybe selling Bamford in 26 makes sense. So Leeds, Leeds play at 29. If that doesn't help you, then sure, sell them. They play Aston Villa, West Ham, and Chelsea. I could even sell Bamford in game week 26. So, in this scenario, if you're going to do this, which, I'm not totally against it, but just always be aware it's kind of risky whenever you sell Salah or Bruno for, Rafinha. But you get the double right away. And then, if you're going to do that, I would do, okay, so I'll give you this because, like you say, Kane's not in the squad today. That could be a good thing. They could be resting him. If we get news that Kane's healthy, and you decide you're going to do this plan completely, then I would sell Bamford over Calvert-Lewin all day. So, yeah, I would sell Bamford first. Calvert-Lewin maybe in the future, but not now. He's going to double in 26 with pretty good fixtures. And then he'll get a double in 27 or 28 as well. So we're looking at a lot of fixtures for Calvert-Lewin, who scored just so much this season. So, yeah. But we just don't know about Kane. We really don't know. So this would lead me towards maybe, obviously waiting, hoping we get some news. I don't see it happening. I don't see us getting definite news. And if we don't, I don't know what to tell you. It's just, you kind of just have to guess and hope. It's sort of the way a lot of times with FPL. No, I don't think Antonio. Antonio is always a fine option. He gets chances. But I think Spurs, I don't see West Ham killing Spurs regardless. And I think there are better options than Antonio. I don't know. I'm not too sold on him. Hopefully we get. I hope we don't personally for my team, but for you guys that are dealing with the Kane issue, if we don't get news, I don't know what to tell you. So for your take out Salah or Bruno. Okay, because the moves you would do now, would you still do those moves for this week, right? Because part of the reason you would do these moves, right? So for Salah and Bruno down to Rafinha, it helps you this week. It gives you the extra fixture, which could help you, maybe even should help you. But part of the reason you would be doing that is for the money to get Kane next week. So I guess the question is, would you be okay with doing those moves and then finding out next week, oh, he's not okay? So that's a tough one. I guess you could always just bring back in Salah or Bruno, And if you have value in them, if you brought them in a long time ago, then maybe you don't want to do that. But it's kind of an option, if you don't have anything else to do. But I still like Salah and Bruno, especially for Gameweek 26. One of them will... there's a pretty good chance I'll captain one of them, and triple captaincy is always on the table with them. Let's refresh our Kane injury search. Let's see if we can find anything. I'm sure most of the news will be available tomorrow. I think we're going to get a lot of speculation between now and then, though. Okay, so what Mourinho told BT Sport was the team could be even stronger with Harry Kane, Lo Celso, or Reguilon, the players that couldn't travel. That was the quote. So it doesn't seem to suggest that Kane was simply rested. Mourinho is sort of hinting at an injury without saying it. I kind of agree with what this top tweet says here is he's kind of, it's giving him plausible deniability to say, oh, I didn't say he was rested when he comes out and he starts next week. I still think it's most likely that Kane starts. I think because he sort of has a little injury, they're giving him the rest in this game when they don't feel like they need him, but then they're going to play him in the Premier League. So I think he's using a code word for an injury, but I don't think... if I had to randomly pick, and this isn't with any certainty, I would say Kane starts in the Premier League. But we really never know, because he could have rushed him back and Kane could have got hurt again. And then the reason Mourinho could be not making a big deal about it is because he knows that it would look bad on him, if he rushed his best player back and then all of a sudden he gets hurt again. So I think those are the two ways this could go. But I would, if I had to pick one, I would lean towards Kane being back. But would you be certain enough to make transfers expecting Kane to be back for 26? I don't think I would make transfers hoping that he plays. That's just not what I would do. I would not hope. I think you can get points from elsewhere. I would not tear a team apart to make transfers to bring in somebody that's questionable in the first place. And even if he does play, there's always a chance he could blank. So it's not what I would do. I think that's, if nothing changes, you guys that are having these sort of multi-transfer plans to bring in Kane, me personally, I don't think I would do that. Now, of course, he can play, and it's going to look bad, but that's not how I play, so I can't say I would do it. But that doesn't mean it's a bad move. That kind of, I feel like that'll stop a lot of people from getting him. So maybe if you want to be risky, go for him and hope. If you really want a differential, if that's what you're looking for. Wow, that's kind of big news, though. It's kind of big news. And now, I had plans to maybe get in Son and captain him. And if Kane's not available, I don't think that's going to happen. So, yeah. Maybe Rashford just ends up staying in the team yet again. But Spurs have some good fixtures. There's no doubt about that. So maybe Son still wouldn't be the worst. But I don't think I could sell Rashford now. Son's so good with Kane. Take a hit to bring in Dallas for Soufal. It has extra value if you need fixtures for Gameweek. Wait, never mind. I take that back. West Ham play in 29 too, so just forget what I was about to say. Honestly, that's kind of risky. Like, Leeds don't have great fixtures afterwards. It's almost a 1-week transfer. I know West Ham don't either. As much as I like Dallas, I can't say I would do it personally, especially if there's rumors of Kane being out. It could help Soufal. I think either way, I could justify that. I think like Dallas playing center mid, playing 2 fixtures against Wolves and Southampton, teams he could score points against. I wouldn't worry about it though. If I was I would just roll with what you have. I think I wouldn't take the hit necessarily. It may be a little more worth it just to wait and make a transfer next week for double game week 26. I think I would keep it simple, but that's just me. I think Calvert-Lewin against Liverpool is going to be an interesting one. If we go back to the table, we can see that. I mean, Liverpool haven't been amazing defensively. They're right there in the table, right? So if we just looked at the numbers and we treated them like everybody else, Liverpool have been worse than Leeds defense. Okay, let me correct that. They've been just as good as Leeds defensively. There's a bit of a game difference there, so it's hard to compare. But they have been worse than Brighton, Leicester, Arsenal, West Ham, Chelsea, Man City, Man United, Wolves, and teams like Brighton and Leicester, Arsenal, West Ham. These are teams that we'd probably play Calvert-Lewin against. This is leading me towards potentially playing Calvert-Lewin over Grealish. But I just wish I knew Calvert-Lewin would start for sure. Like, I'm worried he's going to come off the bench. But yeah, Liverpool have defended slightly better than Everton, slightly better than Sheffield United. Like, they haven't been good at all, really. So, with that said, I don't think Calvert-Lewin's a bad option if you have him. If you have to play him, I wouldn't feel too bad about it. Same thing with Stones. I have them both on my bench. I don't feel like they're terrible options. Even Target's not terrible. I'm happy with the depth of my team, to be honest. If anything, there's too much depth, meaning that I always have to bench some pretty decent players. Who should I play, Grealish or Calvert-Lewin? That's my decision. I don't know. But, I mean, if you just look at the numbers over the past month, I think it's if you look at the numbers over the past month, and if you're certain that Calvert-Lewin's going to start, then it's an obvious play Calvert-Lewin every time. Calvert-Lewin's got better expected goals per 90 minutes. Not such good creativity. Only slightly less though. Like, his numbers blow Grealish's out of the water. So they've. Oh no, never mind. Grealish has much more creativity, but the expected goals per 90 minutes is 0.53 in comparison to 0.14. So that's just not even close. So Calvert-Lewin dominates in expected numbers, and then according to expected goals against, he's also got the better fixture. The one point that goes against this all is that Liverpool have a very good. Oh, never mind. I'm bringing up points that don't matter. Everton also have been a little bit worse than Aston Villa, though, in terms of expected goals overall. So with that said, you could probably trust Villa to just create more goals in general. So if they just happen to fall to Grealish, if that's sort of the way you want to look at it, that's the only thing that would suggest Grealish over Calvert-Lewin with regards to the actual numbers. Now, how much we want to depend on these, I don't know. But the numbers pick for me is definitely Calvert-Lewin. Liverpool just aren't that good defensively, are they? But something about Grealish versus Leicester makes me feel like I should play him. I don't know why. I've transferred. No, not so far. I've made up both my transfers now. I've done Soufal to Dallas, and I've done Antonio to Ings. And my team will most likely look like this at the deadline. Yeah, it is pretty cool. It is pretty cool, Nuclear Atoms. It actually is. Like, if you had to explain this mechanism to somebody with no frame of reference as to like how it works, it would just be impossible. Like, if somebody had no experience with electronics and modern electronic technology, like the power of video, like nobody would. Yeah, so what you do is, there's electrical signals. Well, what are those? Well, it's like it's kind of like fire, you know. But what you could do is you can take like a picture of yourself. Like nowadays, you can define something by saying, "Oh, take a picture of yourself." But it's like a video, so it's like constantly taking pictures, and it can also capture the audio, and it looks as if you're watching them in real time. But when you say the word like picture and video, like imagine saying that to somebody like, I don't know, hundreds of years ago, and they're just like, I don't know, pictures were invented long ago. They would know what a picture is, I think. So I think that would be how you could use. You could probably use that word. They understand what you're saying. But yeah, it would be so hard to explain to somebody. Like, and I think that does sort of exemplify how cool it is. Yeah, honestly, I'm pretty confident about these transfers, Husey. It wasn't like I made one transfer recently. Oh, the Reece James transfer when I brought him in, which ended up to be terrible. What a terrible move that was. When I made the transfer, I wasn't confident at all. I was like, for some reason I felt like I had to do it, and it was wrong. But with these transfers, I'm pretty confident in them. I think Ings gets points against Leeds, and has at least one chance against Chelsea where he can score. Who knows if he puts it away or not. But, Ings against Leeds, that's high upside. We're looking at potential brace. I could see it happening for sure. And Dallas, a lot of people, or not a lot of people, but I've seen some people put off by Dallas because what's-his-name's injured, Calvin Phillips. And some people say he's their best player, and he's a good player. Anytime you're missing a good midfielder, it's going to hurt your team. But Dallas still playing in midfield, getting so many attacking chances. Hopefully he manages to get one clean sheet of the 2 games. I wouldn't really expect it, but if he gets one assist and then 4 appearance points, he gets 9 points. Wait, no, he doesn't. He gets 7 points. He gets 5 and then 7 points. And I'm pretty happy with that. So, I don't know. It's not like, it's not the best. I could see going without Dallas this week. I could see the reasons for it. But he's too good for me to pass up on. Even though he doesn't have the best fixtures coming up, I could still see myself playing him in Game Week 29. If somehow I don't free hit, he'll be valuable, and then Game Week 30 as well. He'll be valuable against Sheffield United. But in 27, I could play him against West Ham for sure. But at some point in the future, I'll probably sell him. To be honest, I'm hoping he has a big week though. He just got that potential for a big week, so that's sort of what I'm going after here. But, there's just a bunch of ways he can score points. He's got goal threat, assist threat, and the little clean sheet threat, too. So, if he just happens to get one of each, or, 2 of the 3, he gets an assist in one game, a clean sheet, maybe in the same game, all of a sudden we're looking at huge points haul. So, that's basically why I've gotten him in. He's kind of a 1-week transfer, to be honest. He really needs to perform this week for me to really get something out of him. Besides the distant future, I suppose. If I manage to, because I do have, Donna is literally, well, I'm still live. Jeez, Donna literally just laying on the computer. Jesus Christ. All right, now that the cat is dealt with. But yeah, Dallas is pretty much just a 1-week transfer, I would say. I mean, besides the distant future, because he does have the last 3 game weeks. They play Burnley, Southampton, West Brom, and before that they play Brighton in 34. And those are fantastic matchups. If he lasts that long in my team, I don't have a wild card, so maybe those will come in handy. And I have a good bench, so maybe I'm able to keep him that long. So that's the hope. I mean, that's the ultimate dream if I don't have to really rely on him. Because in general, right, I mean, Lowton, good fixtures. I can play him most weeks, I feel like. But I have the 2 Man City guys where if I have to, I could just play them guys every week and just find one other defender to play with them. And Lowton and Target can basically handle that. And if I have to, throwing Dallas in a poor matchup isn't the worst. So, I feel like it'll be fine. And Ings, so probably the main upside of Ings is the fixtures. Obviously, he's a good player on penalties. Talisman can really get on good streaks of finishing. But they play Chelsea and Leeds, and then in 26, well, they'll have. Let's see. I don't really know the deal with their doubles completely, but I know, like, in terms of which ones will play when. But they have 2 games in hand. They have to play Tottenham and City at some point. And I think the way this is going to work is... oh, yeah, that's right. So they'll play Man City in 27, and I believe they'll play Tottenham in 26 or 28. But I'm pretty sure at the moment they're going to play Man City. It's going to be Sheffield and Man City in 27 for Southampton. So that looks pretty solid, and then they could be getting 3 doubles in a row. 25, 26, and 27 if the Tottenham game is in 26. So I quite like the Southampton players, if only they weren't so bad. And that leaves us, the only real option is Ings. So I have him in my team. Yeah, I mean, Bamford, he should have himself in his FPL team, especially this week. After this week, he could probably sell himself, I'd say, because the fixtures aren't great and we have a lot of double game weeks, and he simply doesn't have them. Unless he's not going to free it in 29. This week, I don't think Bruno will outscore Bamford. There's always a chance, but no, I wouldn't bet on it. Not with the way United have been attacking recently. I've never heard of Li-Fi. I have never heard about that. But that would be nice if it was, like, I don't know, readily available and used by a lot of people. Maybe it is. Maybe I just don't know about it. Anyway, I think for now I'm going to leave the stream there. Obviously, I wish I could deadline stream tomorrow and answer everybody's questions, because that's when everybody comes in and wants to know exactly what to do with their teams. But I feel like I've answered a lot of the important questions. I would play Pope over Martinez. I'd play Areola over Martinez. If you're looking to do a -4 to bring Dallas in for 1 week, I'm not sure if I would do it. If you have your wild card still, then probably. I mean, maybe free transfer, but not -4 in that situation. I wouldn't go doing a lot to, like, I wouldn't tear apart the team in anticipation of bringing in Kane. Like, I just wouldn't risk it personally, but yeah, with the injury risk puts me off. Other than that, I love him, and it sort of puts me off Son, but a lot of people wouldn't have to tear apart their teams for that plan. Calvert-Lewin versus Grealish is a decision I will have to make. The numbers say Calvert-Lewin. Grealish, well, I don't know why, but he's still in the team. Rafinha or Harrison? Earlier, I mean, I would go Rafinha. I mentioned it. I talked about it earlier a little bit. The numbers are simply better for Rafinha. He's on corners. Harrison does have a slight tactical advantage potentially because of the weakness of Southampton's right side, which is Harrison's, which is Leeds' left, which is where Harrison generally plays. So that would be the only real upside I see for Harrison, and he's finished very well recently. I would try not to sell Salah or Bruno. I mean, I feel like this sort of ties in with the Kane thing. Like, you're selling them, and then all of a sudden they have a double, and they're 2 of the best FPL options we've seen in a while. We have, again, United play Chelsea and Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace have been terrible recently. And then we have Liverpool, who play Sheffield United and Chelsea. So at least one great fixture in both of those games. I would try not to sell them. And yeah, that's basically it. Anyway, I will see you guys next time. Hopefully you have a good Game Week 25, just not as good as mine. And let's try to get some green arrows.